So I'm here to talk about the ways that mathematics teaching and learning need to change. So why do we need to change maths teaching and learning? Many reasons. This is one of them. We have a nation of maths traumatized people. Neuroscientists tell us that when people with maths anxiety see numbers, a fear center lights up in the brain. And it is the same fear center that lights up when people see snakes and spiders. At the same time, the problem-solving centers of the brain shut down. So how does maths education need to change? First of all, many people have the idea that you're born with a maths brain or you're not, and that kids can only learn certain levels of mathematics. And those are completely wrong. When students struggle in class, they think, oh, I haven't got a maths brain, and then their brain will actually start functioning differently. On top of that, people have very fixed ideas about maths. They think it is a subject of methods to be memorized. So, unfortunately, our data shows that about 40% of teachers have these fixed ideas, both about kids and about maths. And to contrast that, we are in a time of incredible scientific evidence that tells us our brains are changing and growing all the time. Even adults of any age, if you go through a focused 8-week training period, our brains completely change and rewire, and school students have limitless potential. Any student in regular school can reach any level of school mathematics. And I share with teachers more neuroscience than I'll share with you, but I also share cases. And one I want to share with you is a young man called Nicholas Letchford. When he was in first grade, his parents were told he was learning disabled, had a very low IQ. They said he was the worst child they'd seen in 20 years. Yes, I know. Nicholas just graduated from Oxford University with a doctorate in applied mathematics. So we know that this is possible. We also know that when people go against these really extreme challenges, that they have a really positive mindset. I'm sure you've heard of the great work of Carol Dweck, who's shown that what you believe about your potential actually changes your brain, what you learn. These graphs just show kids going through 7th and 8th grade. They have the same teachers. Those who are on this upward trend are kids with a growth mindset who believe they can learn anything. The kids on this lower line are kids with a fixed mindset. And as well as the evidence of our brain growth, we also have really important evidence showing that when we struggle, when we find something really difficult, those are the best times for our brains. And actually, even making mistakes is a really positive time of brain activity. This was an interesting book where they looked at the highest achieving people in different areas and found that their high achievement was not something they were born with, but all the people had engaged in a particular kind of practice. And what was distinctive about it was that they were all pushing at the edge of their understanding, making mistakes, moving on, making more mistakes. We actually don't want kids in classrooms getting everything right. We want them struggling and being at this edge of their understanding. And this incredible evidence came from one of the studies of mistakes. Moser and his colleagues found that these are voltage maps of people's brains, and they found a huge activity in the brain when people made mistakes. Particularly, as you can see here, for people who had a growth mindset. Their brain activity was much more positive than people with a fixed mindset. And this is some of the clearest evidence I think we have that what you believe about yourself will actually change how your brain works. And this starts to make sense of those graphs we saw of kids with a growth mindset always going onwards and upwards. Their brains are more active when they make a mistake. But here's the thing, I know in education, a lot of people have jumped on the mindset bus. They are telling kids, you can learn anything, just keep trying. But the problem is, when those mindset messages hit the wall of fixed mathematics, maths questions with one answer, one way to get them, those messages fall flat. So we are in a time also when we know that the best brain connections and brain activity comes about when we see maths in different ways. From the neuroscience at Stanford, when we work on a maths question, 5 different areas of the brain light up. 2 of them are visual pathways, and thinking visually about maths turns out to be really important. Also important is when those connections are made between different brain areas, and we're very fortunate in maths, we can see it in all sorts of different ways as numbers or words or visuals. And all of those different ways of seeing maths cause connections to happen when we think in different ways.